NTA International News.
Chief of Air Staff identifies regimentation and professionalism as pivot for repositioning Nigerian Air Force. As Chief of Army Staff unveils 2016 Nigerian Army Doctrine. Committee of Provosts canvasses reintroduction of Grade 2 Teachers Certificate. Former Senate President commends President Muhammadu Buhari's leadership style. Hello there, it's good to have you join us on NTA International News. I'm Sarah Sander. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, has unveiled the 2016 Nigerian Army Doctrine with a challenge to officers to key in for effective implementation. This was at the first quarter Chief of Army Staff Conference in Abuja. Defense correspondent Mohammed Abdul Kadir reports.
The Nigerian Army Doctrine seeks to introduce new training models and improve standard in service delivery. The Chief of Army Staff described the Nigerian Army Doctrine as key driver to achieving operational and administrative strategic end state.
With this doctrine, I want to assure you that every formation and unit will have.
The Army Boss set agenda for the conference to include a review of the roles of the service in internal security operations to checkmate threats to national cohesion and peaceful coexistence. On the Quick Impact project by the Nigerian Army in post-war rebuilding process, the Chief of Army Staff said the service is securing educational institutions in the Northeast.
The Army is partnering states to get the education, the schools, function properly.
Also on the front burner of discourse at the conference is the takeoff of the aviation corps of the service as newly trained technicians have been deployed to the Northeast and the pilots due to complete their training next month. Participants at the conference are looking at ways to consolidate on the recent achievements and advancements of the troops to finally clear the remnants of Boko Haram terrorists in the Northeast. From the Army Headquarters Command Officers Mess, Abuja, Muhammad Abdul Kadir, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, says regimentation and professionalism in the Nigerian Air Force is another way of repositioning the service. The Air Chief said this at the quarterly meeting held with the regimental sergeant majors and the air warrant officers in Abuja. Defense correspondent Keji Busari Ahmed reports.
The regimental sergeant major and the air warrant officers of the Nigerian Air Force are categories of senior non-commissioned officers that play pivotal roles in the regimental duties of the service. Air Chief Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, who said the quarterly meeting with the non-commissioned officers is to lay a solid foundation in the repositioning of the Nigerian Air Force.
Professionalism and regimentation in the service is a very important area of interest that we have, and the RSMs play a very important role, and that is why we meet with them on quarterly basis and also give them guidelines on what is expected.
This lecture has been included in this program to brief you on the steps needed to complement the efforts of your commanders at enhancing regimentation, discipline, and comradeship.
The Air Chief, who had also served as the commander of the air component of Operation Polo Shield, said the Nigerian Air Force is working tirelessly with other services to ensure that the internal security challenge in the South-South is brought to an end. Little wonder the authorities of the Nigerian Air Force seems to place a high premium on the non-commissioned officers in terms of training and welfare. From the Nigerian Air Force Conference Center in Abuja, Keji Busari Ahmed, NTA News.
And the Committee of Provosts of Federal, State and Private Colleges of Education in the country has appealed to government to reintroduce Grade 2 Teachers Certificate, which is considered as the panacea for the failing standard of education in the country. The appeal came up at the committee's quarterly meeting in Abuja. Abdullahi Musa Suleja completes the story.
Despite the quantum of private and public schools at all tiers of education, standard of education is believed to be going down over the years. It is against this and other challenges that the Committee of Provosts of Federal, State and Private Colleges of Education in Nigeria meet as part of its quarterly meeting to discuss and propose solutions to the lingering problems. The provosts believe that contemporary facilities in education are far more available than the ones in those days, but the populace and students do not get the required knowledge because of the absence of teacher training and the urge that non-professionals are taking up the job.
It is as a result of not having good teachers that could deliver a very good curriculum that we have, that we are talking about falling standard. At the teacher education level, we'll have grade 3 certificate teacher that will be teaching. We'll have grade 2, we have grade 1, we have the associate teacher, both at the primary and secondary school level. The day we abrogated grade 2 certificate, that happened to be the day we killed teacher education.
Ignatius Nwanze is the chairman of the committee.
I attended teacher training college, and that was when education has standard. If we must professionalize teaching, we must start with the introduction of our teacher training colleges.
In Abuja, Abdullahi Musa Suleja, NTA News.
Former Senate President Ken Nnamani has commended the leadership style of President Muhammadu Buhari and calls on all Nigerians to fully support his administration in the face of challenging times. Senator Nnamani was speaking during a workshop on leadership and change management organized by the National Institute for Legislative Studies. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegunloye has more.
Senator Ken Nnamani believes that it is not mere lip service that world leaders have consistently praised President Muhammadu Buhari, saying Nigeria's newfound respect in the international community is largely due to his leadership and courage.
I am very impressed to say that the recent visit of our President to the US, showing how Obama has recognized his leadership, things may not be working as fast as we had expected. But I believe that out of that very hardship, there will be some nice, positive things in our country.
We should all understand our various roles as leaders. It's very key to the development of any institution or organization.
Others gave talks on the art and principles of leadership and character values, while contributions came from management staff of NILS and the National Assembly. The Ken Nnamani Center for Leadership shares similar visions with NILS, especially with outreach ability to scholars in different fields of management and leadership.
A significant point that comes out of this workshop is that leadership does not begin or end with presidents, governors, monarchs, or any other highly placed individuals, but that leadership exists in each individual. And for positive changes to be realized, components of leadership like character, values and work ethics must be harnessed. From the National Institute for Legislative Studies headquarters, Abuja, Dennis Adegunloye, NTA News.
And the National Assembly believes that the efficiency of the nation's economy is in market reforms and proper regulatory frameworks which are working to free up the economy for the private sector to take the lead. Some of the stakeholders at the recently concluded National Assembly Roundtable, who featured today on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria program, stressed the resolve of the 8th Assembly to create strong institutions to check abuses in the process. Ngufan Shaji has the details.
The discussion centered majorly on the National Assembly's decision to do away with obsolete laws that impact on the nation's business environment negatively. The guest reiterated that for Nigeria, as the largest economy in Africa, to be able to compete globally, certain legislations such as antitrust laws and processes must be put in place to stop monopolies emerging across sectors of the economy and check abuses.
The laws are aimed at, one, mobilizing private sector capital into the infrastructure business and using innovation and private sector efficiency in driving the development of infrastructure and expanding infrastructure gaps.
One of the things we want to also achieve is to remove conflict between institutions.
Create institutions and regulatory institutions and frameworks that can protect the citizens against the harsh effect of market reforms.
These master plans and policies, if they are not underpinned with relevant legislations, you will find that they end up becoming papers, work that will remain on the shelves.
It is expected that these legislations will significantly impact on the nation's economy by improving the ease of doing business for micro, small and medium enterprises to grow, thereby creating jobs and reduce poverty.
One on warehousing, so that MSMEs, for instance, can use goods. Maybe farmers can use goods in agricultural warehouses as collateral for borrowing.
In Abuja, Kofan Shaji, NTA News.
Economists have observed that high demand and supply of Nigeria's agricultural produce and establishment of marketing boards assisted significantly in the development of the country's economy through the sector in the 60s and 70s. In this report, Musa Baba Aliyu takes a look at Nigeria's agricultural produce and their contributions to the economy.
After the discovery of oil, agriculture continued to contribute largely to the socio-economic growth of Nigeria. Even with the abolition of marketing board, coupled with the environmental challenges which have affected farmers' output, Nigeria has continued to produce enough food for local and international markets. Investigations show that most West African countries depend on Nigeria for their staples such as maize, cowpea and guinea corn.
From Kano and Megatari market in Jigawa, trucks are on their way to Niger, some even to Libya, carrying grains from Nigeria. From the Lela market in Sokoto, trucks are on their way to Mali, even Senegal, carrying food from this country.
Economists are of the view that Nigeria gains little or nothing from these informal transactions.
If you do not meet the approved standards and grades and quality of the commodity, you cannot be traded on the floor of the exchange.
We cannot achieve substantial sustainable development unless the research system, agricultural research system, extension system, education system is put in such a strong foundation that can drive it.
This administration has never minced words on the need to boost the agricultural sector. We will not sit idly by and watch our agricultural resources waste away. Our reforms will address the labor composition in agriculture.
The federal government says efforts are underway to strengthen the nation's commodity market to drive maximum benefit from the both formal and informal transactions. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And there is a ray of hope that the current fuel situation in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, will soon be over as motorists now spend less time to get the product at filling stations. Mie Ogidi reports on this and the efforts of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in checking diversion of petrol.
As expected, the queues in some petrol stations are still long, while others are not. Be that as it may, the product is available and the lines are moving fast.
Actually, I'm lucky that I've been able to get fuel, though I queued for about one and a half hours.
I mean, the supply is better than previous days. With what is going on, maybe today or tomorrow, the whole queue will disappear.
Some motorists accuse dealers that are not dispensing the product of hoarding. With this in mind, I interviewed an official of the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, who was incidentally on an inspection tour to some filling stations.
There's no case of hoarding because if we do catch, we will sell the product for free. But in most cases, there are false alarm because people are apprehensive.
Though it is a good news from some of the filling stations we have visited, as the product is available and being sold at the official price of 86.50 kobo in private stations and 86 naira in NNPC mega outlets. But this filling station here is not dispensing, so I was curious to know the reason, and the dealer is here to throw more light on that issue.
Actually, we just ran out of stock, not quite long, and we are expecting another truck for today.
To ensure that petroleum products are not diverted from the depot, the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Ibe Kachiku, and the Commandant General of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Abdullahi Ghana Muhammadu, held a meeting earlier, and this has started yielding results, as officials of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, arrested a cartel involved in allegedly diverting petroleum products.
One petroleum tanker driver that loaded from Diku and was heading to Abuja was attempted to bribe our boys. He wanted to give me about 500,000 naira so that the product would be diverted. The boy refused and he reported to us. Now it's because we're handling him and we intend to take him to court.
In Abuja, Mie Ogide, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Stay tuned for more reports after the break.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Thanks for staying with us. The fourth Nuclear Security Summit hosted by the United States President Barack Obama may have come and gone, but humanity will continue to appreciate its impact on global peace and socio-economic development for a long time to come. In this report, correspondent Adamu Sambo examines the gains recorded by Nigeria at the summit.
World leaders at the summit meant to enhance international cooperation towards addressing the threat of nuclear terrorism as the security challenge of the 21st century. In doing that, however, the Nigerian leader insisted that the rights of his country and others to harness nuclear energy and technology for socio-economic development be respected. And that was exactly what happened, as the communique issued by the world leaders declared that the measures towards strengthening nuclear security will not hamper the rights of countries to develop and use nuclear energy for peaceful purposes.
It is his administration's thinking, and world leaders have all tapped into it.
And it is good for Nigeria because, you know, we are trying to get power going, and we can use nuclear energy.
Apart from that, President Muhammadu Buhari, also at a meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, secured the support of the United States government in not only the planned rehabilitation and reconstruction program of the Northeast, but also in the recovery of looted funds stashed abroad.
We received very positive signs from the United States government that those Nigerians who have lodged a lot of money that cannot be properly accounted for, it will be returned to Nigeria.
For them, Nigeria, under the leadership of Mr. President, they're very keen that it should succeed, and they'll do everything in their powers to partner with us to make that happen.
The Nigerian leader also met the Prime Ministers of Denmark and Japan, who promised to support efforts at curbing illegal shipments of the nation's crude oil through the Gulf of Guinea, as well as the fight against insurgency. Similarly, a select group of Nigerian professionals in the United States also met the president with a promise to use their wealth of experience in charting a supportive course for national development.
It is high time that we start giving back to the country.
In Nigeria, we don't have a vehicle that is meant specifically for our culture, climate, and terrain. We need that. And here is a short, very concise proposal on the contribution I can make to Nigeria.
A better time than now will Nigerians in Nigeria and Nigerians in diaspora join hands together to build the Nigeria of our dreams.
But before the close of the summit, an opportunity was created for an informal interaction between President Muhammadu Buhari and some other world leaders, and this is what they had to say about the Nigerian leader.
Mr. President, you doing all right? I hope all the accommodations have been okay. Good. Have you met Prime Trudeau?
Very much.
He's doing a good job.
Yes, indeed. The Canadian Prime Minister responded to President Barack Obama's endorsement of the genuine commitment by President Muhammadu Buhari to a better Nigeria. The bottom line here is that the Change Nigeria project is indeed a reality. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Let's now join Chiazalam Ekie for stories from the financial sector.
Many thanks for joining us. We begin with reports that the Republic of Djibouti is seeking trade ties with Nigeria in a bid to encourage economic integration and enhance trade ties between both countries. The country, which has one of the world's busiest shipping lines with rising levels of foreign direct investments, hopes to explore the economic opportunities of Nigeria. And statistics from the Nigerian Stock Exchange reveals that investors exchanged a total of 34.94 billion shares valued at 148.85 billion naira in 202,650 deals in the first quarter of 2016. Economic watchers attribute these developments to challenges in the foreign exchange markets, recent hike in interest rates, and low purchasing power of Nigerians. And finally, from South Africa comes a report that global rating firm Standard & Poor's have disclosed that the political crisis in South Africa poses a risk to the country's sovereign credit rating. This is coming a day after President Jacob Zuma survived an impeachment motion in Parliament for ignoring the Constitution. The firm says South Africa should grow faster to avoid a downgrade. And that's a wrap from here. It's back to you, studios.
And the trial of the former security advisor, Colonel Sambo Dasuki, retired, and 4 others before Justice Hussein Baba Yusuf of the FCT High Court, Maitama, Abuja, met a brick wall on Wednesday, April 6, 2016, as the lead counsel to the first defendant, Dasuki, sought a long adjournment to enable his client prepare for his trial. Dasuki, alongside Shuaibu Salisu, a former director of finance and admin in the office of the National Security Advisor, Aminu Baba Kusa, a former general manager NNPC, Acacia Holdings Limited, and Reliance Referral Hospital Limited, are being prosecuted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on a 19-count charge bordering on a money laundering and criminal breach of trust to the tune of 13,570 million naira. The trial had stalled at the last sitting due to the absence of the counsel. Dasuki, according to the prosecution counsel Rotimi Jacobs, SAN, had flatly refused to appear in court at the last sitting on the grounds that his counsel won't attend the day's proceeding. At the resumed hearing today, Daudu filed an application seeking a long adjournment of the trial on the grounds that he had not had access to the first defendant, thereby preventing him from taking instructions from him and preparing for his trial. A statement by the head media and publicity EFCC, Wilson Uwujaren, said Jacobs, who was represented by Adebisi Adeniyi, countered that the application for the adjournment lacked merit. The Indigbo Youth Organization has commended INEC for standing firm on the election of the 11 PDP legislators already discharging their duties at the National Assembly. Joseph Orok reports that the group at a solidarity rally in Abuja urged INEC not to be intimidated by some people who want to cause confusion in the system.
The election of the 11 federal legislators from Anambra State has in recent times been a subject of discourse. While some people are in support of their elections, some are against it. But this youth group says this should not be the case, as the National Assembly members who have since been given their certificates of return by INEC were duly elected by Anambra people.
They have been doing everything they can to cajole, blackmail, and INEC
to succumb to issuing death certificate of return when they were nowhere during the election. They did not participate in the electoral process. We know as a fact that it's only the National Executive Committee of PDP that has the powers to conduct primaries and send lists of successful candidates to INEC for some.
They urge the political class and the PDP faithful in Anambra State to continue to support their elected legislators.
The protesters are saying that their decision to support the member of the National Assembly from Anambra State is because they were duly elected from a panel set up by the National Executive Committee of the PDP. In Abuja, Joseph Oro, NTA News.
And turning to sports, April 6 is the United Nations International Day of Sports for Development and Peace, which recognizes the power of sports in promoting peace and erasing cultural barriers worldwide. Nigeria is not left out in the observance of the day, as Kene Emabodike reports.
National Day of Sport for Development and Peace aims to bring goodwill and positive social outcomes through sporting achievement. Proclaimed on August 23, 2013 by the United Nations, the observance of the day promotes healthy lifestyles and emphasizes the International Olympic Committee's focus on giving as many people as possible access to sport. It is a day when some of the world's leading sports people work together with communities to enrich lives, particularly children. The essence of the day couldn't have been lost on stakeholders in Abuja who converged on the media center of the National Stadium to remind one another of the need to achieve goodwill, healthy competition and cooperation across all cultures.
Our main aim is to make sure that we're able to mobilize people from the grassroots and bring them up to stardom so that they will realize their dream, and it will also help economic activities.
The internally displaced persons camp at Wasa near Apo was another port of call for the stakeholders who distributed over 500 balls in a bid to encourage young people to take to sport. Let's Play for Sustainable Development Goals is the theme of this year's International Day of Sport for Development and Peace, a global observance that offers everyone an opportunity to uphold the essential values of sharing, mutual respect, and self-improvement that embody the spirit of sport. And someday, the goal of that agenda will be scored. In Abuja, Kene Emabodike, NTA News.
And I say amen to that, Kene. Now, Thursday's weather prospects is next for Nigeria and some parts of the globe. And that's the news on NTA International. Thanks for watching.